Mm-hmm.
Can we go shopping after school?
I don't think so.
Oh, man. Why not?
Thursday. On Thursday we go to Tapas. Hello. Happy Thursday. The United States military is not marching down your streets yet. And it was the white man in charge of the helicopter. How are you today? And also, very importantly, happy Black History Month. The Proud Boys just lost the right to use their name because they were sued by a Black church in DC, and that church now owns the name The Proud Boys, gets all of their membership dues, and they can't sell their merch. Yay! And this is not a top. This is a whole sparkly jumpsuit with fuzzy silver legs. Find my envelopes. So we are still inking through your books one at a time.
All right, well, let's go.
Wait. Pause. Wave. Where are you? No, not you. I was trying to show Mr. Knitting Cult Lady, but he's gone.
Rude.
I can't show you, lady.
All right. Wait, I'll be right back.
So, yeah, I found this at a thrift store, and I was like, "What?" My friend who was with me, she was like, "Where are you gonna wear that?" And I was just like, "In my life." Yeah. So, got a few more books. Oh, forgot to see if I could get more books today. I'll stay on top of that. We are right now in like a 2-week blackout of books because we were supposed to have 500 books this Monday. And then on Friday, we found out that we couldn't get the books until like about February 20th. So I'm trying to source books in the 50s and 100s at a time.
Dad,
Bezos still won't let me have any more of my
I'm
books.
getting my headphones.
Thanks for sharing it, the book. That is lovely. Good morning. Yes, it's like if Star Trek was fashion. And then the legs were cut off, like all choppy. So I was like, I'm putting silver leg warmers on it. And it's like brilliantly platinum silver, sparkly. I can't even express it enough. Also made some earrings out of that sparkly stuff. But I got these yesterday at my jewelry haul. And yesterday, if you were here, I wrote the pitch for the musical, and maybe I'll read it to you all after I sign books. I got my book the day before yesterday, and you're on chapter 19. It is an intense read to read that quickly. I hope you are taking care of yourself. Also, thank you. We worked very, very hard to make it a good read. Outfit for the Renaissance. See, I keep like missing the Ren fairs, and like I need to not do that next year. I have this whole cape that I knitted out of fuzzy eyelash yarn because I was a Swiftie in her villain era, and Mr. Knitting Cult Lady was Travis Kelce. I knitted an entire cape, and all he did was shave his mustache, and then like he was the best part of the costume. It was ridiculous. This year I was an electric carrot for Halloween. And next year, Knitting Cult Baby has agreed that we can do a 3-part family costume. So like the only good idea I've had so far is paper, rock, scissors, but I need ideas of threes. And then I was like, oh, and I can make our costumes. And Knitting Cult Baby was like, I'm going to buy my costume. Mr. Knitting Cult Baby was like, I'm going to buy my costume. A prophet is never appreciated in their own time. Oh, we got to put that line in the musical. Is never appreciated in his own time. I'll get the real quote, of course. The packaging is fun, and then one of my systems won't print out my P.O. box, so I got these fun little rainbow labels to put on them. And I also got an embosser, and so I can do two things. I can emboss the front page of the book, or I can do a gold sticker. So like every day, one person gets a gold sticker, and then people who have cool names or random people get embosses. So this one's going to go to, whoops, put it on upside down. From the Library of Knitting Cult Lady. Well, it didn't come out the best, but it's still a gold sticker. Everybody likes getting a gold sticker, right? Oh, having a day. We were supposed to have a big ice storm here today, so we did 2-hour late start for school. And then we had no ice storm, but we still had a 2-hour late start for school. So we just have a 2-hour late start. All right, Jennifer's going to get the gold star book. It's always good to sometimes pick the people with boring names. I don't want to discriminate against them. So Hog's Breath is bragging about having the best military recruitment January in 12 years. And I also think it's very convenient that they left out that they just let like 8,000 people who got kicked out for not getting a vaccine, for refusing mandatory military vaccinations back in. But also, I am sure there are a bunch of toxic bros running to the military now that all the bad guys are in charge. You can't trust Hog's Breath to tell the truth, but you can trust him to lie to get you out of war crimes. Whew. I'm so glad I get to go back to criticizing the military. It's much more on brand for me. I just decided to start agreeing with white women and being like, yep, the military is about to come marching down your streets tomorrow. And I believe Congress is just now back in session. So maybe they'll fight. Maybe. Whew. Ren Fair is just about to start in DC. I feel like I lost it last time. I thought it was like in August or something. Anyway, part of my Electric Cara outfit was I made a wig, like a green goddess crochet wig. And now it's hanging in my window as a plant. For a while, I had like 100 houseplants in this little townhouse. And then they all swiftly chose death. Had a little jabuticaba Brazilian grape tree, and it was bonsai named Job, and he was my favorite. And then I took him out and trimmed his roots and accidentally unalived him. Now his bonsai carcass is an earring tree. No. No. Your food is right there. This dog is scared of his bowl. I can't have that silver demon mirror near me. There's a Ren Fair in Minnesota. I know. I'm in DC. That's where I'm at. I wrote on my written platforms last night that nobody's talking about how the white man was in charge of the helicopter. And then in parentheses, I was like, I was an intelligence officer for Blackhawks, or I said I was a Blackhawk intelligence officer, so I don't need, and I'm married to a retired special ops pilot. I don't need the mansplaining. And then all these men showed up to be like, what is it, a Blackhawk intelligence? Were you even in the military? Blah, blah, blah. And what they don't realize is their mocking makes me just as much money as the good questions. So that's fun for me. Yeah, I didn't have a topic today. Today I just was talking about, like, I don't know. Today I'm disillusioned and scared. Military recruitment was great. The only thing that freaks you out is not listening to experts because you were told who was on the plane and who was on the helicopter. You're not listening to experts. That's why you're freaked out. Conspiracies don't happen in the skies over DC. Conspiracy theories are very large. When conspiracies do happen, they're very, very tiny. Like the idea that the entire globe could secretly plan a pandemic. It's too much. It's too much. Fall festivals are fun. And then I went to Fall Fest at Knitting Cult Baby's school. And it was in November, and I was going to be sitting outside reading. And I, one, grew up in Brazil. Two, am incredibly temperature sensitive. So, of course, I was wearing the warmest thing I had, which was my knitted Taylor Swift Sparks Fly cape. Now I guess I'm going to have to go get the cape to tell the rest of the story. Where's the cape? There it is. Ah, okay. So I was wearing like all my warmest clothes. And then this is my cape, which I think would be great for Ren Fair. And then this was supposed to look really cool, like sunset vibes, but it sort of gives Big Bird. And then at the bottom, it just goes all the way down to purple. It has gold through it. And so I was wearing my cape, and I was doing puppets while the other mom was reading. And I did this magic trick where I spoke English, and then I swooped my cape around. Y yo comencé a hablar en español con los niños que hablaban español y sus rostros brillaban. And then I'd spin around again y eu começaria a falar em português. E daí outro truque mágico que eu posso fazer. Just spun around and did my 3 languages. But anyways, all the kids who spoke Spanish faces like really lit up. And then as I was leaving, the moms, the PTA moms, whoever that set up all the volunteers, they were like, oh my gosh, you are like made for this. And so then I was the lady in a cape knitting, like crying on my way home because I was like, I was just made for being childhood entertainment because that's what I have done since the very first days of my life in a cult. Yeah, we just did an episode on the Hey White Women podcast, the podcast that I have with White Woman Whisperer about people who say, I wish I was brave enough to wear that stuff. And it is mostly encouraging you to wear wacky outfits. It only takes like a month to train the people in your life that you're going to dress fun. I could probably go to school pickup wearing this. And it's not even a shirt. It's a whole jumpsuit that I put knitted fuzzy silver leg warmers on the bottom of. It's more of an in-person thing. Yeah, at this point, it's pretty much the daily life while we sign books. Like, I don't know if they are stupid enough to take veteran benefits. But if they are, my husband, the retired special operations helicopter pilot, and me, one of the women who made history for women in the military and wrote a best-selling book about it, we'll be happy to organize 13 million angry veterans who just lost their money after being lied to about a war. Oh, and that is something I forgot to talk about. So there's an organization called Vote Vets, and they are already setting up a lawsuit to sue Elon Musk for accessing information illegally. So something you can do, donate to Vote Vets for their lawsuit. There's another organization called Sons of Liberty that Mr. Dending Holiday is with. I don't like the name choice because Daughters of Liberty is a hate group. But anyway. They could be stupid enough to mess with Social Security. See? I mean, I hope now that Congress is back because they just really needed a break. They'll like do something. I mean, it's still America. You don't really get to care about lawsuits. You just have them against you and then have to deal with them. Even the president had to go to court. But, you know, we'll see. I would love, not love. I mean, I wish we just had a very qualified Black woman as the commander-in-chief. But, you know, either way, we were going to be looking at an unrecognizable America in 4 years. So, like, go ahead, bro. Try to hold it by force. What was the name? Oh, it's called Vote Vets. And they're setting up, I know they're setting up if they come for our veterans. So my husband is one of these veterans who is, according to them, double dipping, who's getting disability pay and then retirement pay, right? Disability pay, what every veteran is promised, no matter how long they serve, for how much they broke your mind and body. So he and I get the same amount, even though I only served for 6.5 years, right? That is disability pay. And then he gets retirement pay, which was basically his bonus, his 401k, his whatever, right? For 20 years of service. 19 of them when we were actively at war. And now they're going to try to break that contract. So they're preparing to sue for breach of contract. If they go through with that as well. Not to mention, like, the current military is pretty low on combat training, but the pool of 13 million veterans, well, 2 million of us have been taken to war recently. And God, I'm kind of trying to stop doing the army captain thing because the bros are just terrible. But like, it's really, really hard to get people to go to war against their own country. This is why the insurgents win. The insurgents always win. I think we could call Andrew Jackson wiping out some native populations the counterinsurgency winning. But generally the insurgents win because all they have to do is wait you out. And we knew this. Like, I studied this in intelligence school in 2010 as David Petraeus was naming it a counterinsurgency and having the world worship him. When like the first thing we should have done was started pulling out. But, you know, the bros, they not so good at that. So instead, we did what we did. But the insurgents win, right? So, like, that's even the thing that people don't realize. They're like, well, the U.S. military has done all kinds of horrible stuff, not against our own families. There's a big difference in being told those people are terrorists. These are the bodies of your friends. Go get them. And like, go drop a JDAM in Boston. And if we did, then the 304, if they did, because I'm not active anymore, then the 340 million of us rise up. And when you have 340 million frogs that have jumped out of the hot water jumping around your kitchen, you're not going to be getting anything done, even if you have billions of dollars and aerial refueling. Yeah, it is rough being, I think it would be really rough being in the military right now. I mean, I know that it is. Like, my best friend is about to be a lieutenant colonel in the military. The JDAM is a big kind of thing that the Air Force drops. Sometimes not on our own people. It was fun when I was in officer school and I got 100% on the call for fire test, which is how to call for things to be dropped on the enemy. And the most common mistake is putting your grid. So calling for it to be dropped on yourself. But anyways, this was when I got to educate people that tests in math are still written in language. And I'm good with language. This is, I think, one of the main cult baby skills as well. Not, of course, from all cults, but there's even privilege among cult babies. Like, I was taught to read. Some women from the FLDS were not. Yeah, and this is a good point too. Sarah says, since no one alive has seen a battle on U.S. soil, like, they're pretty oblivious. But like, who is not oblivious is the American military. Like, they are fully aware that you could not hold the United States or even like big cities. Like, we couldn't hold Afghanistan. That is what happened. When people are like, oh, they put unqualified people in the military. Yeah. Generals told Bush, you'll need 400,000 soldiers to win this. And he said, you're fired. And then another general said, sir, you're going to need 400,000 soldiers. And he was like, you're fired. And then another general said, sir, you're going to need 4,000 soldiers. And he said, you're fired. And finally, a general said, sir, I can do it with 100,000 soldiers. And then we went to war for 20 years. Also, here's another thing. When even people are talking about Gaza and like, would American soldiers go over there? We've been involved in very low casualty wars on our side. If you were the 2 million people that deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, your odds of coming home were better than not coming home by a lot. Not so much would be true if we went into some of these much more near peer conflicts. Like, if I was an active duty captain, I would just be like, nope, not going. I'll go sit in war till the 2 years on my contract is expired. I'll go sit in jail. I'll get a PhD while I'm there. And there are many people like me. And one of the things I keep telling people is like the military is almost 50-50 politically. And when you hear people say, everyone that I know is a MAGA Trumpster, that tells you about that person talking. Because almost everyone I know in the military is a liberal. So, like, that's still just telling you about their silo and their AI and their, and also not to mention, the idiots and the extremists are usually the loud ones. Right? So, but there are surveys done every year. The military only continues to get more and more diverse. So, yeah, there's 20% women. Like, the whole reason they don't want us there is because we stop the raping and the pillaging and the bad behavior that men enjoy at war. More of us. They're just louder. We just got to start being loud. That's really what it comes down to. I'm really trying to not have to run for office or anything. I just I just don't know. I kind of don't want to work that hard. And also, I just think Mr. Knitting Quilt Lady should run for office. And I'll just be the interesting silent lady sitting there knitting. But also because I'm like, nobody's doing anything. Do I just need to run for office to just be there and be like, nope, I vote no. But I also, I get when people were telling to Michelle Obama, can you run for office? She's just like, no, I have a more powerful voice just doing this in a lot of ways because I can say what I want. But also, I don't think this next book I'm putting out is going to be we want that person in office. But most importantly, people would definitely put naked photos of me on the internet. And I'm still I looked good. Oh. Wow. No, I don't want to go to law school. I was born outside the United States. So I don't feel like they're going to change that or decide that in favor of a woman. But I also don't think either of the parties are going to run a woman again for 50 years. It's too risky. As much as I hate to say it, here the fuck we are. It's the end of the American empire. I think, I was really thinking about it and I was like, I think when a Mormon almost became the president of the United States, yeah. I remember, even though Obama kind of won an alliance, I remember being so terrified about what the world would look like with Romney as president. We don't have to wonder about that anymore because we got someone who's so much worse. But yeah, ironically, in college, got traded to Germany because I was playing for the best chess team in the world. And anyway, I ended up literature major in Germany studying international relations and governance and looking at empire and the triangle of empire. It's named after someone that I can't remember, but basically no one stays on top forever because you have to use all your resources to stay on top and stay in control. And then other empires can grow bigger. I've also always been like kind of apathetic about the American empire. Like I've lived all over the world. Many countries are fine. But like people be like, I don't have to pay for someone else's college. Well, fine. Other nations are educating their people. We're just going to fall behind. This is my same in the army. They'd be like, no, you can't change the culture because this, because that, because blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now you have a recruiting problem. Now, because you're so racist and sexist and garbage that you won't change the BMI and height and weight standards that are from World War II, 25% of the population just can't even join in the first place. They dig their own hole and then they cry about it. Like, Americans are so fat and out of shape. I'm too fat to be in the army. The top for my height is like 145. Like, I'm right on the edge. So, also plenty of time to be mad at all the folks that didn't vote for Kamala because of Jenny, who didn't listen to any of us saying, if you don't know how the office of the vice president works, maybe you should just shh. But, you know, this is going to be better for Palestine. Here we go. Also, just him saying that he wants to go into Gaza doesn't mean anything. This is part of the bloviating. Yeah, and they also measure BMI in the most outdated human error way possible, which is by measuring you at certain points. And I did this with the unit leadership when I was in. When I was in, I had 17% body fat. I didn't have periods. I was winning marathons. I had a fully visible six-pack. And then I had the nutritionist do it with calipers. And I was 17% body fat. And then I had the sergeant measure me. And it said I was 24% body fat, which was right at the top of you're on a weight plan. I would love all the bros that are like, fine, women can be in the army, but you can't change the standards. Okay, bro, then you should not be able to be over 180 pounds because standards, you want them all to be the same, but only when the hardest ones apply to you, right? Not the fact that the women have to be 5 times smaller than the men. And then you want to talk about why we can't pull you out of combat? Maybe we could if you weren't such a fatty. Standards. They're trying to say that the woman pilot was distracting to the men. And this is why men should not be in the military. They're just very hysterical. It's a big risk. And there's all these people being like, what was a military plane doing at a civil? Do you not know that military planes are in civilian airports all the time? If you don't know that, it doesn't seem like you should be speaking on this one. This guy's like, oh yeah? What are these helicopters doing at DFW? Getting gas. Sir, with no due respect. Oh. And if you don't know how to spell martial law, maybe you should be listening to other people. And maybe Elon Musk having access to secrets is the end of our country. But if you don't know how to spell skiff, you don't need to be spooling up about it. I know it's not spelled like the boat. Yes. Sexism and misogyny, it all comes back to that. No, it's not spelled like that. It's an acronym, SCIF, Secret Compartmentalized Information Facility. And the president can give anyone he wants access because the president is the classification authority. So while it's not true that he can just wave his hand and say unclassified, although he kind of can because he can't go to jail anymore, he has to go through the process of being like, someone change that to unclassified. And he can definitely just say of any American citizen, which the Muskrat is, this person gets access. Those are decisions that the American president can make. I was the one that actually put the classifications on the document, but it was all in the name of, at that time, President Obama, whom I got to meet and wrote about in the book. In the last chapter, it's called Mr. President, We're Not Lesbians. Every day I look over and Knitting Cult Baby is like going like this with the coin I got, just rubbing it. I smell lotion. And I'm like, what is going on? She's like, oh, I washed it and I polished it and now I'm giving it some lotion. The coin needed some softening, apparently. So we don't have the book in the TikTok shop right now. You can order it from wherever you buy books. I'm on a 2-week backlog. Up in the link in the Lio, I do have it going straight to my website, but it is potentially up to 2 weeks, but I hope not. I'm getting them out as fast as I can. But I sold Jeff Bezos out of books. That's fun. Oh. Yeah, I mean, they're trying to reduce government. They're coming in and they're doing the playbook of Zappos, which was you pay people $3,000 to quit. Zappos, by the way, which ended up being a total cult, multiple self-unalivings, and then the founder was ousted, died in a suspicious fire, which is very suspicious when it comes to cult leaders, and about whom Daniela was saying, shouldn't we be paying more attention to this guy for a really long time? Elon comes to us straight from the cult of entrepreneurship, or amongst others. We've all read the same books. They've all probably sucked off Tony Hsieh at one point or another. And so he's coming into the government and he's trying to do entrepreneur cult tactics. That's what he's doing right now. And I mean, he wants to be a full supervillain and own the world. Like, people keep being like, that's not comforting. I'm like, yeah, I'm the threat person, not the morale officer. The richest man alive, the most dangerous man alive are running our country like it's a boys' club, and we're just letting them do it. Oh, Blaze, honey baby. those keyboard strikes you write, put as much money straight into my bank account as the real questions. Love you. Thanks for your money. You bros have helped me go viral every single day since the election. My summer trip to Japan appreciates you too. Where I'm going to get to go walk around old cult headquarters. So the Children of God at one point tried to go like legit in Japan and had these rich people bankrolling them, and like they got this huge section of Tokyo just like it sort of became a commune, but there's no walls. It's just part of the city. And they got it to like for free to develop it. And then after 10 years, it would go back to the government of Japan. And they were like, yes, we got one over on Japan because Jesus is going to come back in 1993 and we're not going to have to give it back. And anyway, then they had to give it back and they all got deported. We all got deported. Oh. Of course, it was all developed with teenage slave labor, so I don't love it that much. And that's me, by the way, in Japan, as a 2-year-old, soldier of love in the army of Jesus, also known as child trafficking. I'm going to get to give a talk on shiny religious child trafficking soon. Japanese people aren't easier to cultify. Cults pop up in times of social turmoil. And so in recent history, it went America in the late 60s and 70s, America and Canada. And then it went Europe and significant parts of Asia like Japan and Korea in the 80s. And then Latin America in the 90s. And this is where my family also went. That was my life. So, but I'm very interested because I have no active memories. I was born in the Philippines, and then from like 5 months old to 3 years old, I was in Japan. And I have no active memories, even of the flight. The first thing I remember is arriving in this compound in Peru when I was 3 years old. But I've always had these kind of like Asian aesthetic, food, art kind of stuff. We have the Japanese maple fire tree behind me. So I think like I'm really interested to go back to Japan. I don't think it's smart for me to go to the Philippines at this time, but someday. Yeah, and I got to go to Germany in college. Then I went to the Middle East and, the army, and Australia. So really it's just Africa for me, but also Asia that I can remember. So let's go back there. I don't know if the people who sell... I have a whole playlist about AA and 12-step programs. In my opinion, they are very harmful. And there's a reason that every cult scholar ever, as soon as they define cults, has to answer, what about the military and what about AA? I don't even think it ever mattered about getting people sober. It's just an evangelical Christian narcissist who wanted to build a following, anything with a following would do, as for most cult leaders. He lied about how he got sober, and he died incredibly wealthy. Best actual argument I ever heard about AA was if it worked, it would be as popular in the rest of the world as it is in America. But it's not, because it's an American religion, as the courts have ruled every time mandatory attendance in AA has been challenged. No, not an end time sign. I'm just signing books. That's the only time you see me without needles. Sometimes drinking wine. Signing books, drinking wine. I definitely knit when I'm walking. Hi from Australia. I was not born in Japan. I was born in the Philippines, but then I was in Japan from 5 months old to 3 years old in an American begun cult. I speak Portuguese, Spanish, a little bit of English, tiny bit of German, and I can sing I Want to Wish You a Merry Christmas in what is probably really bad Japanese. So I will always be selling signed copies. I have them in the blink up there. I just had to take them off one click order in the shop because I'm having a 2-week backlog right now because, the bad guys are running the world and everything is going to be affected. So much fun. Now the post office comes, and then when they come back, they're going to be cheaper. They're going to be $25, but they're not going to be signed. They're going to be run by a fulfillment center. It's called Uncultured, and it is a story about growing up in one of the world's most extremely recognized cults, the Children of God, and then going into the cult of the U.S. Army. And while I was watching a cult leader run America the last time, I decided I had something to say. And ever since, he got elected again, I've been selling like 50 to 200 a day. To the point that I can't keep up. Oh, honey, my transition is being paid for by that money you're pouring into my account right now. Love you. Your hate makes me as much money as the questions do. They never have an answer. They make me go viral every day. So next, my hair is going to be bright pink. And I think I'll do straight blue after that. There's no such thing as good cults. And I think AA hurts many, many more people than it helps. We don't talk about all the people who unalive themselves because they think that's their only shot is being in a cult or having their life completely wrecked. And there's also a thing called 13th stepping. And when your organization has a name for it, that's when you know you have a really bad problem. Plus they lie. Like AA just lies all the time. Look, we don't have leaders. You are a registered nonprofit with executives whose salaries can be looked up. But the biggest thing about AA, if I had found nothing at all culty about them, would just be the response to just asking a single question. It is like the most cult thing ever. And in 3 years now of collecting horror stories and positive stories about AA, I've never heard one single thing that I can't give you an exact parallel for out of one of the world's worst cults. Cults like Children of God, the pedo cult, and Scientology are very good at getting people sober. So is the US military when they pick up a whole unit and put them in Afghanistan with no alcohol and no social life. It's easy to quit whatever your vice is when you just addict onto something else. When I wanted to quit smoking, I just addicted onto lifting weights. You calling out my aggressiveness gives me as much money as the real compliments. Appreciate you. The bros are so effing hot and bothered that we don't need their opinion to exist anymore. Just like, hang on, clutch your little man pearls. It's going to be okay. Patriarchy is going to come down, but you know what? Matriarchy doesn't mean women on top. Matriarchy is child-centered, and it's better for everybody. So just catch a bubble or keep hate posting money into my account. I would be laughing all the way to the bank, but I don't even have to go. They just dump it straight in my bank account every single day. Dear Deidre, I think I'm going to give Deidre emboss. Yeah, it's okay. Nobody was interested in you either. Nobody went out and was like, hey, come listen to this thing and like called you here. You just stopped by to give me some money today and remind me of how awesomely aggressive I am because I know my stuff and I'm good with words. Have a day. Eat a satchel of Richards. I do love language. I realized that if I was going to have to be the Sheldon Cooper of language, then use it for something good. We've never had freedom of religion. Every single boss in the military I ever had sat me down and told me that if I put atheist on my resume, because in the military we have our religions on our resumes, I would be discriminated against. And I was like, don't care. Y'all suck. Somebody asked me, they were like, what would happen if the military became overwhelmingly one religion? The military has been overwhelmingly Christian, not Catholic. Christian, always. You're welcome. Almost dead. Yeah, imagine not being angry right now and like announcing that to the whole world. Ooh. Gross. The mediocre white men are freaking out so hard. And I think it's so interesting every time people are like, just because other people get more of the pie doesn't mean there's less of the pie for you. Yes, it does. That's not how pie works. Pie is finite. When we give more to the people who always should have had some and not been left outside to starve, that means there's less pie for the angry, mediocre white men, and they don't like it. Could you like making me money? My favorite is when the women of these mediocre white men try and they're like, well, my husband had a harder time getting into X school because, oh, really? Do the statistics in your husband's field show that? It's not white male dominated? Do they? No, maybe your husband was just mediocre. And that's why he had a hard time. No, it's fun. Then they don't want to come back and drink wine with me. You can still order a signed copy, but you got to go up to the Blink in the Lio. And you got to be willing to wait up to 2 weeks. Because so Jeff Bezos had books. So I'm just not trying to make the hole too much deeper until I can turn the tap of books. It's funny because the book is supposed to be a finite. It's supposed to be a infinite product. And it kind of is with print on demand, but you just have to give them time to print on demand it. Thank you. I have been practicing making fun Ds my whole life. It's fun when you're like a whole grown person and you put out a book and you're like, now I get to practice my signature. And it's like all the fun of being a 13-year-old doing Mrs. So-and-so, but it's just about you. Man, not necessary. You see, they're already trying to say that in order to vote, you're going to have your name match your birth certificate. And I just don't think they realize how many of us will just file for divorce just for funsies. Oh, I'm out of books. That must mean it's time for me to read the musical pitch document. I'm not going to have my musical hat on this time because I don't want to go up and get it. Ugh. The envelopes are pretty, but these plastic things are the bane of my existence. Knitting. Make jewelry today and edit my 47-page chapter. But yesterday, when I didn't want to go straight back to editing, I just thought I would go live and write the musical pitch document. As I was saying, I thought I would go live and write the musical pitch document. And so now I have it. And I have the whole thing. And I can just read it to people. All right. Okay. So, if you have read Uncultured, the idea was basically I'm going to show you growing up in a cult, and I'm going to show you being in the military again as a cult again. But like to write a memoir, you have to get super personal and detailed, right? Oi, Brasil! Treinador capoeira. By the way, one of my favorite things about Brazil is like when enslaved Black Brazilians were told they couldn't train in fighting, they invented a dance that is fighting as a dance. Happy Black History Month. So, oh good. My kid got me this scarf for Christmas. Okay. So for the book, I had to get like super detailed. And then for the musical, I feel like it's the other way. Okay, so Uncultured, the Cult Baby musical. Logline. A genre-defying, high-energy musical that takes audiences inside the world of high-control groups. Uncultured follows Daniela, a girl raised in a cult, as she fights for freedom, identity, and survival, only to find herself confronting the same patterns of power and control in the US Army. If every system is a cult, where can she truly belong? Concept and themes. Coming of age in extremes. Growing up in a world where obedience and performance are survival tactics. Power, control, and programming. The striking parallels between religious fundamentalism and military discipline. Freedom and identity. Leaving a cult doesn't mean you're free. Indoctrination runs deep. Ooh, this is all falling apart, isn't it? Hang on. Hang on. I'm gonna go get a crochet hook. Someone asked me, how do I sew into the yarn? Okay, so most scarves, you can just put a crochet hook through. And if it's not that easy, you can use the small metal crochet hooks are sharp like needles. So you can use that. You can also use a rotary cutter to put holes in cloth, but it's also kind of easy to slice up cloth. And I've wrecked a few pieces of clothes that way. And then finally, when I attach it to like pleather or something, I'll use an awl, AWL, to like puncture. But right now, this like pulled out of the base, and it's going to keep going if I don't fix it. Now let's do that from the inside, Daniela. You're saying it's be funny one of these days when I get famous for being a designer above everything else. Probably will make all the costumes for this musical. Or at least conceptualize them all as knitted and crocheted costumes, and then have all the other cult babies and people that want to help make them. How does a soldier get a home like mine? Well, when two officers married together with a bunch of deployed time, who also worked for Microsoft, who also wrote a best-selling book, because she survived some really crazy things in life. Lots of different things went into it. Not the corruption that you're probably implying, though. The bros, they're so fun. All right. So back to the musical. Okay. Freedom and identity. No, we read that part. The cost of belonging. How much do we sacrifice for the illusion of safety and purpose? Patriarchy and white supremacy, the institutional systems that demand obedience and conformity. I do have all the songs, not just named, but described. Story summary. Spanning 2 acts, Uncultured follows Daniela from a childhood in The Door Knockers, a cult based on the Children of God, and heavily mocking the Mormons, to her enlistment in the US Army. In Act 1, she is indoctrinated into religious performance culture, witnessing both its allure and its abuses. After a failed attempt at escape, she's forced into the troubled teen industry. In Act 2, Daniela seeks refuge in the Army, believing it will offer her discipline and purpose. Instead, she finds herself trapped in yet another rigid high control system. As she climbs the ranks, she faces the ultimate question: is escape possible when the cult is everywhere? With a dynamic blend of satire, raw emotion, and explosive musical storytelling, Uncultured dissects the institutions that shape us and the cost of questioning them. Musical style and inspirations. Genres: rap, Christian rock, military cadences, and Latin chanting, blending to reflect Daniela's shifting worlds. Influences: Hamilton, lyrical density; Six, feminist energy; Jesus Christ Superstar, religion and rock; Taylor Swift, narrative songwriting; Encanto, cult dynamics hidden in joyful melodies. The sound: from hypnotic harmonies mimicking indoctrination to explosive rebellion, the music pulls audiences into Daniela's world. Key songs. But I'm going to go to the longer descriptions because I like them. Okay. Key song descriptions. Working titles. Opening. Is it a cult? Opening number introducing the 16 cult characters, the chessboard beneath them, and the main character, Daniela, the U.S. Army second lieutenant. Song 2, the end time rap, introduces our cult, the door knockers, and their origin mythology, peppered in with the cult children, puppets, performing the end time rap, a real thing that 10-year-old Daniela was made to do in the Children of God cult. The real footage can probably play in the background. 3, the making of a cult baby. It's the 3 cult commandments. Sorry, the 3 cult commandments. And it says, sung like 10 dual commandments in Hamilton. The first rule of cults is you're never in a cult. That third of the song is cult childhood indoctrination, also known as mind rape. Cults are all about labor and performance. Number 2, the cult will forgive any sin except the sin of leaving, programming us versus them and fear of the outsider. Cult performance culture. The whole time she's smiling and dancing for the camera. It's a puppet this whole time. Even if he did, and part 3 is even if he did it doesn't mean he's guilty. The deification of idiosyncrasy, abuse, performance, cover-ups. And then the femmes in the chorus are going to have a little diss on men historically being monsters and getting away with it in the style of Chicago's "He Had It Coming. Even if he did it doesn't mean he's guilty. And you'll never have to pay. If you had been there, even if you'd seen it, you would have just have looked away. They'll never get him. They'll never listen. And they'll never make him pay. It's the deification of idiosyncrasy. And he'll never have to pay. Okay. And then all the men on the outside of the chorus are going to be the splainers. And they're going to be in the style of Shaggy's "Wasn't Me," doing their thing. Okay. So the setting of this song is the child, a puppet, because I can't make more child actors, and also children and cults, puppets. Ha! Being indoctrinated and used for labor and performance. On screen, behind, we have real child Daniela singing and dancing for the cult, like a little apocalypse Lindsay Lohan. Oh, it's also going to have Macarena in there. There's a video of me as a 10-year-old doing a Macarena on the beach in Rio. At the end, she stops smiling and performing for the cameras. The troubled teen industry comes to carry her away. And then song 4. Welcome to the Family Internacional. Sung like Encanto, the family madrigal. Anything that calls itself your family wants to overwork you, underpay you, and expect you to put up with more BS than you would otherwise. It's about language, thought-stopping cliches, performance, manipulation, financial and sexual abuse. The setting of the song is that the teenager, the real actor now, is back and no longer troubled, as evidenced by her giant creepy smile and cult-glazed eyes, singing and dancing on cue. Meanwhile, the chorus is having their Mormon missionary assignment ceremony. Everyone coming up and dancing away with a different flag and singing "Welcome to the Family Internacional" in a different language. And then it's "We'll love you just the way you are if you're perfect." At the end of the song, she screams out, "I want to leave the family." And the curtain falls. And as the curtain's falling, the dad voice is going to say, "Don't go telling people you were abused in our church." She's going to say, "Dad, you excommunicated Uncle Creepy for abusing us." The dad's going to say, "We're not talking about that." Okay. Then everyone's going to run, get their drinks, and go to the bathroom. They're going to come back. And we have the second opening. It's called Army of One. That was the recruiting campaign I joined under. The chorus is all going to come back out one at a time, doing their chants and getting on there. But this time it's instead of the beginning when they come out, and it's this know also that in the last days, perilous times shall come, shall come. 2 Timothy 3:1-3:1. This time it's just going to be all these different military, but this know also that in the U.S. Army, perilous times shall come, shall come. And then they're going to say some Army thought-stopping cliche while they get on their square. And then this know also that in the Marine Corps, perilous times shall come, shall come. They're going to get on their square. And the last one is going to be women in the Army are either a bitch, a slut, or a dyke. The chorus comes back out one at a time, this time each in a different military uniform, including the Space Force, because cults always promise space travel. At the end of the song, when they are all on the chessboard, it becomes a military swearing-in ceremony. And in the middle of, I'm proud to be an American, except for the one person that's going to say Canadian, because he wrote one for Canada too, in runs the lieutenant and announces, you guys, I just joined the Army. Okay. Next song, Drink the Kool-Aid. After the cult, you tell yourself this lie, that you can just work hard enough and fit and outrun the trauma. Military basic training and identity-breaking doctrination. At graduation ceremony, standing stiff as boards, not daring to move an inch, singing of freedom when we were, at this moment, anything but free. Uncultured quote. Then the next song is Have a Day, Have a Day. Have a day. The lieutenant, bright-eyed, is thrust into the real military, where reality is heaped on her along with far too many responsibilities. The number one thing that defines being a lieutenant or ensign is you have to salute absolutely everybody you walk by. Song setting is the lieutenant marching and saluting nonstop with both hands while the chorus is along both sides. Ultimately, the chorus begins to physically push her down while she belts out, I'm fine, in canto style. This is my musical. But quickly changes to, I'm not fine, as her shins come to rest on a full Army duffel bag. Just as it looks as though she will succumb to the pressure, she says, but the cult baby motto is, I can do it with a broken heart. She shrugs off the hands on her as she presses the duffel bag into the air, belting out, I'm fine. Song number 8, Skinny, Skinny Blonde Woman, in which she's being offered the keys to the kingdom and the path from spunky young lieutenant to pretty, perfect blonde Captain Combat Barbie. Overlay of sexual purity messaging, which comes from religion, but also white supremacy and the military. Song setting is the lieutenant surrounded by the femmes of the chorus, all in bad blonde wigs, offering her the world if she will just climb the white supremacy patriarchy ladder. Once again, we'll love you just the way you are if you're perfect. The males of the chorus, the splainers, are around the outside, splaining the military and the patriarchy. Lots of mention of DEI. The lieutenant, now blonde and perfect, climbs the ladder. I should say the captain. Smashing her head on a glass ceiling, which shatters. Trying not to bleed to death from the shards of the glass ceiling we helped to shatter. Uncultured quote. As her head bleeds, the birds become the chorus of femmes. This time, history's intersectional feminists, discouraging her from this path, ending with Audre Lorde's The Master's Tools. Then the chorus is just going to start chanting, run, girl, run, run, girl, run, run, girl, run. Climax moment where Daniela finally breaks free. The puppet child pops up and says, nah, bro, I'm out. Captain Barbie sings out, I'm not that girl, Wicked style, and jumps from the ladder to land in a crouch on the chessboard, where she strikes a match across her boot and immolates the chessboard. As the chorus pulls off her uniform to reveal a Medusa-coated bold woman, she sings, as you were. Then as the curtain is coming down, she sings, who's afraid of little old me? Well, you should be. Because white women are an incredibly powerful weapon against white supremacy once they deconstruct. Then there's going to be the ending song, which is called, this is my story turned into a musical, which is called Living With It. All the cult characters come back on the chessboard, taking off their costumes, the pseudo persona, and becoming themselves. Queen Elizabeth becomes Prince Harry. Someone becomes knitting coat lady in a Phoebe Buffet outfit, all crocheted. I want to write this song with all the cult babies once the show is cast. And the only part I've written is because we were delayed adolescents. Now we got to have our delayed adolescence. Okay, that's my musical. That's my like pitch document. And then I have more stuff. Okay, those were all the songs. Why this story? Why now? We're living through the culting of America. From politics to religion to corporate structures, coercion is everywhere. Uncultured isn't just one woman's story. It's a mirror of modern society. The memoir Success, Uncultured is a critically acclaimed bestseller with a built-in audience, creating cross-media potential. Broadway, streaming, film. Of course, we'll do like a musical book and a movie. First of its kind musical. No other Broadway musical has tackled cults and military control through satire, rebellion, and feminist power. Investment opportunity and next steps. Development goals, funding for song demos, workshop performances, and industry readings. Blah, 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 these tiers you can invest in. Why invest? Proven source material, unprecedented market niche, built-in audience, cult survivors, memoir readers, feminist theater goers, high crossover potential like Hamilton and Jesus Christ Superstar. This show can define a cultural moment. Call to action, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So yes, you can use, so fair usage, you can use 2 lines of a song. And this is why in Uncultured you have, I'm proud to be an American, where at least I'm finally free. I can put that in my book without having Lee Greenwood's permission. And the kind of musical that I'm writing is called a pastiche. So I'm going to steal as much, legally steal, right, as much other lines, other music, all those ones you heard me mention. As you were, it's from 6. The 10 Commandments from Hamilton. And it's also like a commentary on cults and plagiarism and how nothing's real and everything's just performance and reused everything. And so far, everyone that has heard it is like, take my money, make this thing. And I've met somebody who maybe is the first step in making it a thing. So that's the pitch document. Maybe we will have a crowdfunding tier. I just literally had this idea in December and wrote it down, and I'm starting to talk about it, but I think it's going to be good. But we are crowdfunding Culting of America right now. That is up in the blink and the eye. Yeah, it's good, right? And parody is legal. And so like, it's going to be, just all mixed in. And I think people will appreciate it. But yeah, the one part I didn't talk about was like after the first opening, then the lieutenant is going to come in and she's going to be like, I'm going to teach you a military cadence, call and response that we're going to do with the audience throughout the show. She's going to be all military about it. She's going to have a rifle. And then she's going to be, now you haven't heard this yet, but just try to sing along. Try to sing along. When I say, is it a cult? Is it a cult? You say, call it what you want to. And then she's going to do it a few times. And she's going to be like, and now we're going to set it to a 6 beat in 6 style again. And then it's going to be probably still, is it a cult? Is it a cult? And then the chorus is going to help the audience say, call it what you want. Call it what you want to. And the lieutenant's going to do a little dance with the rifle and then go off. And also I'm going to use Tay-Tay, who's afraid of little old me. And also as I think it needs to be like maybe it's in the Making of a Cult Baby song and also in the Living With It song, but it's going to be, I am what I am because you trained me. And then it's going to go, aren't we the fruit that you've been training up so well? That's we're like, hey, y'all made us. Children of God gets to take all the credit for this person. But wait, I am wearing a knit creation. I am, because it's a jumpsuit and I put fuzzy platinum silver leg warmers on it. All right. Now I have to go write my book and stuff, folks. Thanks for hanging out with me while we signed the first one. This is just once I realized my flavor of neurodiversity and that I'm an out loud processor, I was like, oh, great. My family loves my social media lives because they don't have to hear everything that I've ever heard or thought about today. Oh, and I have to go post our Hey White Women podcast on YouTube and also on Patreon. So come join us for that. Congress is just now back in session. Hopefully there's going to be some fighting back. Vote Vets is an organization right now that is raising money to sue Elon Musk for his illegal access to the VA and the federal files. So if you want something to do today, give them $5 or $10. I have two podcasts. I have one called Cults and the Culting of America. That's like this channel, but with guests. And then I have a podcast with a Black creator, White Woman Whisperer, and we sit and crochet and deconstruct white supremacy like the cult that it is. And that one's called Hey White Women. So check out both of those. And I will see you all tomorrow. Even I have a Santa Claus hat that's silver disco ball and has a little disco ball hanging from it. And at New Year's, I wear this and I'm the New Year's disco ball. I think I made some videos of it last year. All right. Bye-bye.